What's up, guys? It's your boy G. I wanted to come and talk to you guys about, again, Scott Jund versus Tru3Ta1ent. But instead of talking about Swiss, we're talking about Spirit and Spirit Counterplay. Now, I don't want to get into all the drama between Scott and Tru. I'm not here for that, and I'm not really here to talk about them as streamers because I don't know them personally, but more talk about the points. Right, so basically Tru3Ta1ent's statement or his position is that Spirit has counterplay, right? Spirit has counterplay in that the moment you go against the Spirit, it's not just automatic losses, right? And Scott's point is that Spirit has very little counterplay and that Spirit is not really a very counterable killer. Now, I see where both of these people are coming from, right? Scott is coming from the perspective of there is no direct method to stopping Spirit from just downing you, which to that point I do agree with. I do think that Spirit does have a hard time stopping you. Not Spirit. Survivors have a hard time stopping Spirit from downing them, right? Especially if these survivors aren't the best survivors in the world. But when talking about this, they brought up a good point, which was Scott's 1v1, his 1v1 video, which Tru3Ta1ent likes to point at as, a proof of his argument that Spirit does have counterplay. And my viewpoint on this is, yes, Spirit has counterplay. Right now, again, I feel like it's very important to realize where Tru is coming from, right? He's not coming from a perspective of like the same perspective that Scott is coming from, right? Because when you come from the FGC, because Tru was an FGC person through and through for the longest of times, 50-50s and guessing are just part of the frameworks, right? He played a lot of MKX, and MKX is a lot of 50-50s. So when you say that Spirit is mostly 50-50s, of course Tru is going to be like, okay, and what's the problem with that? And I feel like that's where the real big disconnect comes from, is that what Tru counts as counterplay is to increase the odds of the 50-50 being in your favor, right? Like, it's still a guess, but it's more of an educated guess, right? And I just watched Scott's video, and in Scott's video, he does say that Tru is right, but only in the perspective of competitive play, right? So not something that you would see common, right? Not a common thing that you would see. And he's right. Outside of people who play this game for thousands and thousands of hours, Spirit's counterplay is very, very, very discreet. And it's very, very hard to get a grasp of, and it's not going to be something that you're going to be seeing at higher level. I mean, at really mid-average people who play the game for like casuals, right? Like your average rank 2 to 3 survivors are not gonna be doing well against the Spirit because they just don't put the time into that game. They're not a competitive Swift. But I'm of the mind that if there is counterplay, period, there is counterplay. You get what I'm saying? Like, I understand that the counterplay might not be fun. I understand that the counterplay might even be boring. I understand that the counterplay might be hard to implement. But the point is that there's always counterplay, right? Spirit does have direct counterplay that you can do, as proven by the videos, but it's boiled down to guessing. And as somebody who has also been part of the FGC, and I also played a lot of MKX and other fighting games, I'm used to that. I'm used to it being a guessing game. And for the counterplay to be kind of like, okay, this is just more in my favor versus not being in my favor, then yes, I do think that the counterplay is important, right? I do think the counterplay is there. But this is where I agree a little bit with Scott, right? Your average DBD survivor is not going to counter Spirit, right? They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it at all, or they're not going to do it well, right? This is purely people who play this game for 8,000 hours and who have a competitive team, and they're all working on gens and stuff like that. In that case, yes, Spirit has counterplay that you can do, and Tru3's right. But in the case that Scott is trying to kind of mention, that Spirit doesn't have counterplay that is very direct, I do agree with him. And that's why I feel like both of them are right in a sense, but I agree more with Tru3Ta1ent because I'm more of the mind of, well, there is counterplay in general, therefore there is counterplay. So that's how I see it, or that's how I view it. And I feel like a lot of people, they kind of get into the theatrics of the debate because they're not really talking about points anymore. They're talking about more personal stuff. And again, I don't want to get into any of that. But with the core point about Spirit, right? Spirit is top 3 killers. She's top 3. She's somebody that really does well on the competitive side of things, right? Behind Nurse. And she is very strong. And part of the reason why she's so strong is because she's so hard to counter. Now, with such a simple power that she has, you would think that it would be a lot easier to counter her. But no, it's very hard. It's very hard, and it just boils down to guessing. Now, is it fun for the survivors? No, it's not. Scott's right about that. It's not fun for the survivors. But as someone who mostly worries about, you know, higher levels of play and things like that, like if you're asking me personally, does Spirit need to be changed or nerfed anyway, I would say no, right? Because I'm always an advocate for strong killers. And just because the killer has no quote-unquote direct counterplay, right? She has counterplay, it's just not really direct. I don't think that should mean changing the killer or implementing a way to kind of counter that killer directly, at least in my mind, because I'm all about the characters being really good and being able to deal with high-end swifts, right? High-level swifts that you will come across in competition teams, because I would personally like to have the option to compete with these teams, because that's the way it is now. Back to the other debate, if the team is completely amazing, they're all 8,000 hours, they're all you know, very cooperative, they know the map layout, they're doing everything right. In that case, you as a killer have little to no chance unless you're playing Nurse, unless you're doing NOED, and even then, most times you only get 2 kills. So I feel like in that case, it's really hard for me to say, hey, Spirit needs nerfs, because I feel like you should always have options to win no matter who you're playing as, right? That's not me advocating for Trapper to get buffed to Nurse tier. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is Spirit is one of the only other killers that can compete with these Swifts. And I feel like that nerfing Spirit by the reason of she doesn't have counterplay, which is false. Again, she has counterplay, it's just not very easy counterplay, and it's not direct counterplay. I feel like that hurts the game, and it makes killers suffer even more. But I don't think Scott is coming from a place of talking about competitive, because he doesn't think about competitive, right? Tru is thinking purely on the competitive side. So if you guys look at Scott and Tru's points, what you're going to see, and this is a trend, Scott is usually talking from the perspective of, is this going to be fun? Is this going to keep people playing? Is this going to be fun for both the killer and the survivor to interact with? Tru is not worried about that. He's worried about, is this viable? Is this good at high level? If you was to take the best of the best here and put them against the best of the best there, is it fair? Right? And even in one of Scott's videos, he mentions that he'd rather have an unbalanced game and it'd be fun versus a boring game and it'd be balanced, right? And I think that talks more about Tru's and Scott's perspectives, because again, being from the FGC, you do come across a lot of imbalance, and when we deal with imbalance in the FGC, it's a lot more painful, right? And the game is very imbalanced, and the game is very in Survivor's favor at the highest level. Just because not a lot of people are at the highest level doesn't mean it's not true. But that's kind of my perspective on it. That's all I wanted to say about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment it. Please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I do make a lot of content. Follow me on Twitch if you would like to come say hi in person. But yeah, I think that's all. And please, please, please don't share any hatred for either one of these streamers. They're both great content creators. But you know, it's just a difference of opinions. I feel like that's completely fine. That we need to be able to respect each other's opinion. Even though I do disagree with Scott, I do understand his point. I do understand that from that perspective, it does make a lot of sense. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Lockdown, don't look down, don't look down. All you really see is people want you on the ground.
Yeah, my name is Kay. Got a new paddock, the diamonds is frozen. I got him a shot, just look at their face. I got a baddie, she want a taste. She want it badly, come to my place. I get the bag, then I do the dash, and I do it fast.